Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so things are clearly heating up here. I mean, just the tone, it's something to behold. President Trump comes out freaking swinging, and like it or not, you are officially strapped in for the ride. And in a way, you know, this is what American democracy looks like. The man was duly elected, he holds a certain responsibility, he was given certain authorities by the people as the executive of the United States, he's the leader and commander of the American military. You know, he was elected to call the shots, and this is the shot he called. From the looks of it, Donald Trump isn't flinching even a little bit. It seems he's done playing nice. Honestly, it feels like a full-on recalibration of American foreign policy, or probably better said, American foreign posturing. The president's got his freaking chest out. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I first want to start off with this clip right over here. Here's JD Vance before President Trump gave the green light to strike Iran's nuclear facilities.
What the president said is so perfect about this. I think he gets to define America first because he's the person who ran, who was elected, and who actually leads this movement. And for all of the online chatter, what I see, and I've seen it very privately, of course, and I've seen it very publicly, the president is very focused on a core American national interest. And that national interest is the state of Iran should not have a nuclear weapon.
So how long do you give diplomacy a chance to work before it's time to drop a bunker buster?
Look, the president has to answer that question, right? And I think that what he said is he's going to pursue diplomacy until he thinks that there isn't an opportunity. And once he decides that diplomacy has completely run its course, that we're not going to get anything out of additional talks, then I think the president is going to do what he needs to do to end Iranian enrichment and end that Iranian nuclear program. Again, the president will make that final decision. I do think that we're running out of time, but as the president said yesterday, he wants to give it a little bit more time to see what diplomacy can accomplish.
Obviously, a lot of people in President Trump's ear giving him advice. What advice are you giving him?
The advice that I'm giving him is sir, trust your instincts. He's got the best instincts of any president I've ever seen, of any political leader that I've ever seen. I think that he knows when diplomacy has run its course, and he'll know when ultimately he has to employ the American military to make sure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear program.
You said you think we're running out of time. The president says he wants to take about 2 weeks to think about it. Is that within your range?
Well, I think as the president said, he's not going to tell anybody exactly when or what he's going to do. He's going to continue working this process. He's going to let the diplomatic process unfold. And in the meantime, of course, the president of the United States can do whatever he needs to do, whenever he needs to do it to keep the American people safe.
Now, I don't know if he was aware that the strikes were going to happen. It's possible that he was playing coy there with the journalist, when really he knew that it was coming. But it certainly seemed as though he was alluding to something, as if he thought diplomacy at that point was exhausted. And that's exactly what he said. The president's going to make the call when he believes that diplomacy has failed. And well, I guess the president got there rather quick. And it's not exactly surprising. I mean, it's Donald Trump we're talking about, a man who's notoriously impulsive, decisive, and frankly unapologetic. And well, speaking of unapologetic, that's where we get to this clip. President Trump addressing the nation after the strikes. I mean, it's giving me 2017 Little Rocket Man Trump flashbacks.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
I mean, it's just absolutely unabashed. Surrender outright or pay the frickin' consequence. That's the message he's sending. Honestly, I think it's a presentation and an exertion of American force that we haven't really seen in a long time. And it's clearly different from the typical neocon warmonger approach in a lot of different ways. I mean, it certainly seems to come in like a ram, but then always kind of offering an out, always offering a peaceful solution. Even at the end of that fiery speech, he still says the goal here is peace. Cooperate with us, back down, be peaceful, or else. The goal is to actually use and flex America's incredible military assets to essentially bully the bad guys into submission. Or at least that's the idea, right? And now, of course, we go to the same place we were last time. You're hearing the claims that Iran will strike back. But we've been there, done that, heard that before. Remember back in 2020 when Donald Trump absolutely smoked Qasem Soleimani, a man who was dubbed Iran's top terror mastermind? Well, we had the same reports back then. Here's an ABC News clip from 2020.
We begin with Iran firing back, launching more than a dozen ballistic missiles at U.S. forces in Iraq.
But so far, there are no reports of casualties. Those missiles rained down in the middle of the night in retaliation for the U.S. drone strike that killed a top Iranian general. The attack could signal a major escalation in tensions, but Iraq's foreign minister says they are not seeking war. And after days of explosive threats, President Trump toned down his rhetoric last night, tweeting, "All is well."
The rockets, which were fired from Iranian territory, hit these bases in western and northern Iraq.
Iran striking back at the U.S., launching more than a dozen ballistic missiles, seen here in Iranian state TV video, in what they've dubbed Operation Martyr Soleimani, revenge for the U.S. drone strike that killed their top military general, Qasem Soleimani.
You know, it really does feel like it was just yesterday where President bombed Soleimani. And at the time, it was a decisive blow, and I think for the most part, it was celebrated. And it's almost like people forgot that this isn't the first time that Donald Trump hits the Iranians. And I said the exact same thing when we were talking about the Israel-Iran back and forth that happened last week. It's not like this is coming out of nowhere. It's been happening. World War III, a declaration of war, boots on the ground, a war without congressional approval. And you know, sure, Tim Pool is probably frantically ranting about World War III, but I'm just not feeding into that, at least not yet. What happened last time Trump attacked Iran? They said they were going to do this, they were going to do that. Oh, wait until I call my older brother. And then basically nothing. I think Iran's military very clearly knows that they cannot take America head on. If they retaliate, it'll be viewed as symbolic. A couple fiery speeches in parliament, a couple Allah Akbars, maybe a few rockets landing in the desert, but no actual serious escalation. Because if you think about it, the bunker shots, that was the warning shot. If anything, it's not even as bad as when Donald Trump hit Soleimani. I mean, he obliterated one of their top generals. In this case, they attacked infrastructure that had already been evacuated months ago. But basically, I guess what I'm saying is it's too early, you know, don't jump the gun emotionally, and maybe try to entertain a more positive outlook. I mean, there's so much doom and gloom being pushed on the internet, but maybe after electing President Trump to make these kinds of decisions, maybe let the situation play out a little bit here, put some faith in the man who was elected to do the job, you know, to see that job through. And at the end of the day, I think the intention is good. And if the message is sent clearly, which I think to the Iranians it very clearly was, well, if it's well received enough, maybe the outcome could be good too. We have absolutely no idea what's going to happen here. You could pull your hair out and predict doom and gloom, another endless war, boots on the ground, World War III, but that's what they said last time, and look what happened then. And look, I'm not here trying to push copium. It could be, you know, it could be actually the worst case, most doom and gloom situation. Guerrilla warfare, attacks on American interest, people, and infrastructure. It could be a nuclear frickin' apocalypse. Or it might be the move that saves the world from a nuclear Iran. Who knows what they're gonna etch in the history books. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.